What's up, Christy? One Love Fellowship for Followers of Christ. I hear you. I wanted to do this when I was in a higher energy, and I was in such good energy earlier, but I haven't slept, and it's starting to hit me like I'm gonna go lay down and fall straight to sleep. But I was wanting to come share my day with whoever. I don't know, all my stalkers, I guess, all my non-paying stalkers, like all the people that stalk me without me actually getting any support, monetization, anything at all, any recognition, whatever. Anyway, it's cool. It's cool. When I start getting paid, I'll stop calling y'all stalkers, but as long as I'm not getting paid for any of this, I feel like y'all are stalkers. It's fine. You're only an audience if I'm getting paid. I'm just playing. But yeah, so I was wanting to come on here and say that I had the best day today. I was wanting to say that because it started out really good. I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep, and finally I was like, okay, well, if I don't sleep, like if I finally went to sleep, when, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to make myself sleep and then sleep all day. So since I was already up and the sun was up and it was like full blown daytime, I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to like force myself out of bed and go take a bath and a shower, a spiritual bath followed by a shower, because I needed that. I've been in a depression, so I was in boy mode. But yeah, so I bathed and I got dressed and I washed dishes and I vacuumed my floor. And then I went out into the world. I was originally going to go to the food pantry, the food truck. But I didn't. I wasn't going to be ready in time for that, and something kept telling me not. I kept hearing, I don't want you there today. Don't go there today. So I didn't. But I went out to run some errands and get Loki out of the house and get myself out of the house. And I started by going. First of all, I got all of my bills paid, and I had like not quite, like just under $100 left for the rest of the month, which normally would freak me out. And I mean, I should have went ahead and like been unhappy about that, but that was actually me like paying all of my bills, including my car insurance, and I paid a double payment on my car insurance so that I won't stress by the end of the month, like how am I going to come up with this before the end of the month. But then it left over actually more than I ended up with last month. Anyway, I was happy, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I was happy that I had that much left, because in my mind it's always so much more than it actually is. You know what I mean? In my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to get groceries. I can treat myself with tacos. I'm going to have plenty of gas. So I can take a road trip. Like, that is so amazing. Like, hello, tariffs. No. My first stop was at the Dollar Tree, and I know I'm not supposed to shop at these places, but right now I can't afford not to. So I can only afford the bare minimum. The bare minimum is what I can do. I'm not going on a shopping spree at the Dollar Tree, but I did want to replace my plate. So I went to the Dollar Tree, and the reason that was the first place I went isn't because that was the most important thing. It's because that was the first stop along the way. I went to the Dollar Tree by my mom's because I was going to go to the grocery store by my mom's, not for groceries, but there are certain things that I get at that store. It's the Ingles by her house that she shopped at when I used to do her shopping for her, like whatever. Anyway, there are certain things that they carry that I can't get. Well, I mean, I might be able to get other places, but I know they have it there, and I know how much it costs there, and I know that it's not available at Kroger, where I get my actual groceries. So on the way there, the first like stop like I can't like the Dollar Tree's before you get there. So I'll stop at the Dollar Tree first because I'm trying to consolidate my steps, save gas. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be responsible without being like in lack mentality. Basically, is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to reconcile like how do I still take care of my needs without like poverty mentality, but also not being irresponsible and conserving as much as I possibly can so that I can maximize, what I have. Anyway, so I went to the Dollar Tree first to replace my plate, and I bought. At first, I was sad because they only had two that I thought were the same as the one that I broke, and the one that I chipped, and both of them were damaged. Like they weren't like broken, but they had like like you could tell like they'd been knocked together. They had scratches on them, and I don't mean to discount like damaged things, like you know what I mean. Like I don't mean to be like, oh, you have an imperfection, like you're no good. I don't mean to be that way, especially don't tend to be that way with like living things, like organically living things, but like I don't know, when it comes to things like, furniture and you know, when it comes to like inanimate objects that I use in my everyday life, from what's available, I tend to try to find like the best quality or the most flawless. I mean, we do that with food too, to be honest, but anyway. So I was debating on if I wanted to settle for one of those or if I wanted to spend the gas to drive all the way to the Dollar Tree that I originally bought the plates from, which was the one way out in Turkey Creek when I was, because that was near where I was working or whatever. But anyway, before I gave in and put the plates back and started to leave because I couldn't reconcile paying the money, even though it's only $1.25, for the already, slightly damaged plate, I noticed that there were two hiding at the back of the shelf. And they weren't quite the exact same shade of blue, like, or teal or whatever. And then I got in this, like, quandary. Because here's the thing, since I hadn't slept, my brain is still a little bit mush, right? I mean, I'm functional. Like, I can go out in the world and, like, do what I need to do. I'm not, like, it's just I'm more autistic than normal, and it takes me longer to make decisions, and it takes me longer to navigate my surroundings, and I tend to linger. This is when I'm in danger of browsing and purchasing things that I don't actually need. Like, this is why I normally don't go out when I'm like this, because I feel less responsible, and I don't like to be out in the world when I'm feeling irresponsible. Like, that's why I'm not like someone who really ever wanted to get intoxicated and be like out in the world. It's like, let me be somewhere where I'm relatively safe and I can enjoy this time of irresponsibility. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand the idea of wanting to be like intoxicated on your job. Like, why do you want to, one, why do you want to jeopardize your job like that? But two, like, why do you want to blow your buzz? Like, what? No, I don't want to have to be responsible when I'm enjoying a mind altering state. Like, that's crazy. Um, anyway, so yeah, so I saw these two peeking out. So then I had to spend like an inordinate amount of time deciding like, is this okay? Like, which is gonna match? So finally, I just was like, you know what? I think these are actually the color I had to begin with. Like, I think these are actually a little bit darker anyway, and they're damaged. So I don't want to waste the gas. I would literally waste more than $1.25 worth of gas to drive out to buy $1.25 plate because I'm such a freaking perfectionist. And so I was like, yeah, that seems silly, excessive, and irresponsible. And I considered just getting a completely different one, but I was like, no, I kind of want them all to match. Like, I only have one of each thing, but like, I like that they match. Because I grew up in a house where like we just had a lot of mismatched hand-me-down stuff, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, if you don't have to live like that, like, why live like that? Like, when I have my own place, I'm not judging anyone who lives like that, by the way. Like, I understand it because I grew up with it, but it just, to me, it's like, unless you don't have a choice except for that. Like, why? So when I got my own apartment, like, I wanted to get a set of matching dishes. I couldn't afford anything super fancy. I got Corel. It probably destroys the environment to make it. I don't know. I hope not. But it's like the high pressure tempered glass or whatever. It's like the real thin, lightweight. Because that was the thing. Like, that's why I used plastic so much. Wasn't because, like, I didn't realize how toxic plastic was. Like, I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know all the details that went into how, like, bad it was on so many levels. And I liked that it was lightweight and didn't break. So that's why I preferred Corel, because Corel was a step above plastic, but it wasn't like thick and heavy like China or ceramic or, Anyway, so yeah, I didn't have much, and what I had wasn't fancy, but it was brand new when I got it and it matched. And that was, to me, that was like, I was a baller. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so I got the plate, and a glass caught my eye. Another glass the same size as the glass that I have, because I only have the one glass, that says every day is a fresh start. And this one said happiness grows here, and it had a butterfly on it, a blue butterfly. And part of the responsible person in me was like, you don't need another glass. And then the, I don't want to say irresponsible, but the, like, let's think about this for a second and, be rational part of me was like, okay, but sometimes you like to have more than one beverage, and if you don't have another glass of your own, then you have to use one of theirs. And they don't have that many to begin with. So if you get yourself another glass, that's actually, like, that's not a bad thing, because sometimes I like to have juice and water. So I really liked it, and I wanted it, and it was only $1.25, and I was like, I could splurge $1.25. It's not a big deal. But the kicker for me, and here's the thing, because there was another one that I saw that I liked too that said wish on a shooting star or something, had like blue stars on it. But the one that said happiness grows here was like, there was no other one like that. And that's what will always get me. When that's the only one left like it, and it catches my eye, something is like, no, you have to have this. This still exists here right now just for you. There's not another one like it here right now. Like, this one is still here because it's meant to be yours. Like, there's like something energetically that's like, no, this is here for you. Get it. Like, it's not like there's a million of them and you can come back later and it'll still be here. Like, get it now. Like, oh, whatever. Anyway, so I got the plate and the glass. Had a nice, lovely little conversation with the cashier. Starting my day out with positive interaction with another human being in physical reality, which is great. I need that in my life, which is why I kind of miss doing errands, like for my mom and stuff, because it got me out of the house, and I had like a routine, and I, interacted with certain people based on that routine. Anyway, so, and I forgot the part where when I was walking into the Dollar Tree, I noticed that a gentleman was walking out who had a cane. And the thing was, like, he did look familiar or whatever, but from the distance that I saw him, I barely glanced him, and I saw that he was coming towards the door, and so immediately I stepped back outside so that I could open the door for him. But as he approached, I realized it was my stepdad's brother, Stevie. I'm assuming he still lives in his parents' old house, which is not that far, because that was one of the reasons that we ended up, my stepdad insisted on that particular house because it was closer to his parents. It wasn't the best house for us at the time when they had options. It definitely wasn't, like the best schools, or, didn't make it convenient for my mom, who was needing to care for my elderly grandmother at the time. Like, there were a lot of reasons why it wasn't the best for us, not to mention the fact that it was very small and didn't have enough room for all of us, because the other house, I think, had 4 bedrooms, which meant we could all have a bedroom. But my brother was already gone to college, and I kind of think that was, my stepdad wasn't wanting a house that was going to make us want to come back home. Like, he didn't want us to feel like welcome, to return. He was hoping that we would leave as soon as we turned 18 and never look back. So he could have our mom all to itself. Like, that was the energy. Anyway, the irony of this situation is his brother's coming out. There was a point when I was getting a lot of pressure from my mom. Not, she wasn't never, I mean, I can't remember that she came out directly and said it. She was often hinting at it and implying it. My grandmother did the same thing with, like, the son of a client whose house that we cleaned, like, trying to push me towards this person because they think they got to play like matchmaker. But it was almost as if I were like somehow promised to my stepdad's little brother, which is weird to me because I mean, yeah, he is technically his younger brother, but like not that much younger. Like, that's still like 15 years older than me. Like, no. No offense, but like, no. Not, I mean, what I mean is, like, even if everything else about him were not kind of the opposite of what I personally found myself attracted to, like, apart from like the familial relationship, it's like, ew, that's weird. Like, can you imagine like marrying your stepdad's little brother and now you and your mom are like sisters-in-law? Like, that's weird. No offense to him, like, he seemed like a nice enough guy, but my mom was always like, he deserves a good woman, you really should talk to him. And I'm like, you don't even think I'm a good woman, what are you talking about? So weird. Now I realize it was just because they apparently promised me to a white guy. Like, they would make sure that I ended up with a white man. Like, whatever. Anyway, so he was coming out, and he recognized me. I recognized him, and God bless him, he was on a cane, and he said something about, I got afflicted with that. What did they call it? I didn't mean to like insult him in any way, shape, or form. It just came out of my mouth because it's literally what I thought he was about to say, and I said old age. God bless. And he was like, "We'll yell that too, but bad knees." And I was like, "Oh, um, his family, like, genetically, they just, like, obesity is just. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, that's, my stepdad was 600 and something pounds by the time he passed away. Now Stevie's not to that degree. He always tended to be a bit more active, you know. Um, but yeah, it's, unfortunately. He seemed very, very, like, kind of sad and lonely. I kind of felt bad for him. But he asked me about my mom. Yeah, well, first he said, "Do you still stay at the same place?" And I was like, what place?" And I was like, "Oh, you mean at my mom's house?" And he was like, "Yeah, right up the road." And I was like, "Oh, no, I stay on the other side of town now." And he was like, "Oh, well, is your mom still there?" And I'm like, "I mean, as far as I know." And then he was like, "It is." Like, I didn't want to get in. I'm an honest person. I don't like to lie. You know what I mean? I don't feel any need to in this situation. I would prefer not to if I don't have to. Like, I don't just. It gives me a lot of anxiety to be dishonest intentionally, unless, like, if I am, like, if it's necessary, or like it has to happen for a good reason. Like, sometimes sources like, no, you can't, like, I don't think I'm ever going to be told to outright lie to people per se, but like, I'm not always supposed to tell everything. You know what I mean? Even that gives me anxiety. But the thought of like making stuff up and outright lying is just, I don't like that at all. You know, I mean, it's one thing if it's like reverse psychology, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there are times when it's necessary and not ill intended. But generally, for me, it's not intentional. It's not conscious. I'm not conscious. Like, a lot of times, I don't realize that that's what's happening until after it happens, and then sources like, "Oh, by the way, this is why I had you say that." I'm like, "You had me say something that wasn't true," and it's like, "Yeah, but it was for a good reason." I'm like, "Oh, okay," but like, also, I don't like that. And they're like, "Yeah, that's why you didn't know. That's why you thought that what you were saying." Right. Anyway. Wow, I'm going to need to edit the crap out of this. Anyway, I don't know how to do that, so you guys are just going to have to deal with it. um, So yeah, he just kept asking about her and like if her number, like did she have the same number? Does she think that I would care if he stopped by? And I'm like, I want to say yeah, go right now, like go see her now. But at the same time, like I said, yeah, as far as I know, like she lives there with her sister and her boyfriend. Like you know, as far as I know, they're still there. Everything's, as far as I know, they're fine. Everything's fine. They're there. You can go see them. I'm sure she'd love to see you. Um, I was kind of shocked that she didn't end up just like being with him. Like I know it sounds kind of messed up, but like I kind of figured that was what was going to end up happening. Like I kind of always felt like between the two of them, she should have been with him. Like he would have treated her better. But whatever. Anyway, so that was an awkward encounter, but it wasn't bad. It was just it was an experience. I didn't expect to ever see anyone from that family again. Um, but it's good to know that he's still around and that I mean, he's lost his whole family, both of his parents and his brother. So it's just him. He doesn't have any kids or anything as far as I know. I mean, he's got like extended family, I guess, but I care about people. Like I genuinely care about people. Anyway, so I go down to the grocery store, the Ingles, and I'm there to get incense and prayer candles because my prayer candles won't light anymore. There's still some wax and wick left in them, but it's so far down and the candles are so narrow. Like they're not as wide as these other ones to where I can burn them all the way down to the bottom. Because by the time I stick like the thing down in them to light them, it just goes out. Like there's not enough oxygen down in there to get to them. And so I also needed the main thing I needed from there was that's the store that I know that I can get one single jumbo roll of Scott toilet paper for like $1.49 or something because times are hard and I can only afford like one roll at a time and yeah if I run out I run out. I mean I went like a whole month without toilet paper. Spoiler alert, like you can live without toilet paper. Humans existed for a long time without toilet paper. You might think it's nasty. And I mean, it's it's not the easiest thing to have to deal with, but like you keep a wash rag and you wash the wash rag out and like you get in, you know what I mean? Like you do what you have to do and when you're the only one who uses your bathroom, it's not that big of a deal. Um or else you utilize tissues, which at one point I borrowed a box of tissues from the church because I was dealing with something that's a bit more inconvenient, and I didn't want to have to deal with that, with the whole wash rag and washing it out in the sink situation. Or you get, excuse me, have some paper towels. I try to use them extremely sparingly because they're expensive and wasteful, and I don't like to waste. Like I don't use them for wiping my mouth. I have a washcloth, a dry washcloth that I use as a like a lap napkin and a wipe my mouth napkin. Um, but I have the paper towels for when I need that for something. Like, if I need to clean something and I need a paper towel or, whatever. But I have like the Selecta size. And so I can tear each one of those into thirds. So like basically it's two of those makes one sheet of a paper towel and each one of those makes three. So like if I use a paper towel to wipe, then it's like 1/6 of a paper towel, which is basically the equivalent of 2 squares of toilet paper. And it's good to not be wasteful. Like it's good to realize that you don't need to use as much as you use, but like also it's like just sheer necessity. It's like rationing it out and making sure that I have enough. So anyway, hashtag survival tips. So I forgot to get the toilet paper. Like that was the main thing I needed. I ended up getting incense and candles and I spent more money than I should have. And I forgot to get the toilet paper. And then I went to then I took Loki to the dog park. And we had an interesting experience at the dog park. I met a few people and had some conversations, and people were so friendly. And I just like, I felt like really supported. Like, I felt really supported in my environment. I mean, I encountered a couple of people who were clearly having a bad day and not just like it, but it didn't feel personal. Like, I didn't feel like they had an issue with me. It was like I was fully aware that they had a bad day, and I felt compassion for them. Like, like a couple of stops I had, like a cashier that was kind of, for example, when I was in line at the Ingles, the cashier was kind of glum, but the older gentleman behind me was very friendly and very chatty. And I know most people don't like small talk that have autism. I get that. But like, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm one of those people that, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have times when I'm like, I don't want to deal with, to me it's like there's small talk and then there's small talk. Like, if it's completely for no reason whatsoever, just to fill a space with sound small talk, it's like, no. But for example, I was in line and there was a special edition, I think it was like People magazine, it might have been Rolling Stone, I can't remember, but it was like a special edition Prince. Oh, it was $15. I really wanted it. I was hoping that maybe if I like had enough left over after I took care of everything, I might go back and get it. Um, or maybe I could get it. It says it's got to be on display till July 11th, so maybe I'll go back and get it next month. But I was looking at it while I was in line, and then the line was moving, and I could tell there was a gentleman behind me. And so finally, like, I went ahead and closed it and put it back, before I moved up where, the line was advancing. And I kind of turned back to the gentleman behind me, and I realized that he was an older gentleman, and he might appreciate, small talk and anecdote. And so I just kind of said, yeah, I remember when magazines were $5 or less. And he was like, oh man, I remember when they were $1. And I'm like, yeah, that one's 15. He was like, $15. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it was a special edition. Like, it's definitely worth it. He was like, man, that's crazy. I was like, I know, I'm going to have to, what did I say? I was like, I'm going to have to save up for it. And then he said something. And then I said, maybe have to come back and put it on layaway. Like, I don't know, just random talk. And then we just had like a little ongoing conversation about the price of things and, and how it was at one point in time. Oh, and he talked about how when he was younger, he used to go into like a pharmacy or whatever and like read the magazines until they came around and said, this isn't a library. And he goes, oh my gosh, you must have been, he goes, were you there? Like, I was like, no, but my great grandmother was, and she told me stories like that. How you could get a whole bag full of hot dogs, enough to feed the whole neighborhood for $1. He was like, yeah. And I was like, I hope maybe one day we'll be back to a time like that. He goes, well, yeah, but I was only making $1.25 back then too. And I was like, yeah, but the pay hasn't gone up that much considering how much the cost has gone up. And he was like, that's true. And I was like, I just look at it like this. It irritates me because if bread cost a nickel in 1945, there's no reason it can't cost a nickel today. It's still the same bread. It's still made with the same ingredients. Like, that's what frustrates me. And he was like, yep, you're right about that. And I was like, you have a blessed day. So anyway, like, we were carrying on this whole little conversation the whole time that the cashier was a little glum. And I tried to smile and be friendly with her, but I knew that she wasn't going to want to, like, engage too much. So there was that. Then the dog park, and I had a decent conversation with the lady that was there until Loki kept trying to hump her dog, and finally I was like, okay, we got to go. And then just as we were leaving, there was like this group that came in with like a whole bunch of dogs, and they were so, I know most people hate this experience, and sometimes it's annoying, like, I get it, but like for me, especially when I've had plenty of time to myself and no human interaction at all, I kind of love when I'm out in the world and I encounter people who like talk to you like they've known you their whole life. like, hey, you want to hold this puppy? You want to meet this puppy? Like, sure, why not? I mean, like, I wasn't thinking about it, but like, since you're here and you're offering to let me hold your puppy, like, why not? And they're like telling you everything, and and it's almost like in their in the reality that we're now sharing, like you and I are already friends, and I like this is a totally normal thing for you to just share all this information with me. And it's refreshing in a way because I genuinely like kind of am one of those people. Like I don't do things like that so much anymore. Like I'm more aware of it now, and it was more of a acute stress slash social isolation due to single motherhood thing back in the day. Like once I finally got out in the world and could be around someone that I felt like comfortable enough with, like my kid's instructor at the little gym, I would just like start spilling everything like they were my therapist, which ultimately became gossip. Like I wasn't intentionally trying to gossip, but a lot of it was me like venting frustrations about my situation and the person that I believed to be the father of my child at the time, or at least the person I wanted to believe was the father of my child at the time. Which is why, like, you know, I mean, it wasn't fair, but at the same time, I wasn't totally innocent. I accept that some of this is karma, and I know some people don't believe that you experience karma in one lifetime for what you've like if I did that back then, like me experiencing it now is karma, but to me, it's like it kind of is though, right? To a certain extent. Like, it's not the same because he's 9 years older than me. And then he did that thing over a decade later after I was good to him versus I was 22, 23. You know what I mean? Like, I was in my early 20s and he had just abandoned me with a child after, like, going behind my back and having a kid with someone else and then lying and covering it up. Like, you know, I mean, not that you should go bad mouthing someone just because they do that to you. And my intentions weren't to like bad mouth him, but like that was my reality, and I was sharing at the time my version of my reality with this essentially perfect stranger that I had decided was my friend because I saw them every week on a regular basis, and that was like my social life was the things that I did with my kid and taking my kid to the little gym for gymnastics and dance class. That almost was like an outlet, a social outlet for me. Also, after I started smoking again, that was like the one chance I got to smoke because there was a Chili's next door that had a bar inside that was enclosed that you could still smoke in. Like you could go inside that Chili's and sit inside their enclosed bar and smoke. So while my kid was in dance class, after I started like gradually getting back into the habit of smoking, that was one of my few like times that I would get to indulge that vice because you know my kid was occupied and supervised and taken care of, and it wasn't necessarily helpful for me to be there watching. So you know I could sneak next door and you know indulge my nicotine habit. But then that would lower my vibration, and I would come back and like spill the beans about every. And the girls loved it. They were young, you know, girls. They wanted to hear. They're like, "Oh my god, your life is so interesting. This sounds like it should be a movie." Like it will be one day. Don't worry. Anyway, so yeah. No, I totally rambled off topic. See, exactly. That's why I don't go in the world in this energy because I don't want to come across as one of these people anymore. But again, I find it refreshing sometimes. And then after you know we left there because Loki was there was one dog that was like really rubbed the wrong way just by the existence of Loki, and I was like, let's just let them have fun and we'll go. You know, like it's not crucial. We still have stuff to do anyway. So we were leaving and we went to. So let's say 30. Have I been talking for 34 minutes? That's insane. Okay, whatever. Um, we went to walk around the track and there was a college recruiter. You know, because the universe is just like, we're just letting you know right now that you have extra support from us. And so I went over and I talked to the college recruiter. And I won't drag that conversation out as long as it lasted, but I had a very, very long conversation and I kind of made a new friend. And, you know, I told her I had to give her my number anyway for the paperwork. And I was like, you've got my number, you know, you can call me. And I know that this is a test and I have to be careful about falling back into old patterns of, you know, distracting myself with other people and their energy and new connections. And, you know, I get it. It's fine. Anyway, and we walked around and hugged some trees, and I was feeling like so supported by my environment, like so happy. So just like I can't wait to go home and make a video telling everyone like what a great day I had and how supported I feel and how glad I am that I got out into the world and got some sunshine and heard some bird song and like grounded myself and sat with a tree and like, yeah, I needed this. Thank you, universe, you know. But then I went to the grocery store, and first of all, you should never go to the grocery store hungry. You should never go to the grocery store on no sleep when you're a little bit delirious. Like, that's when I'm always in danger of over shopping. On top of that, I couldn't find, they only have the one, like, small cart at this Kroger that I go to. Like, I don't know why. I guess, like, people have stolen all of the, like, you know, the little small cart. That's the one I like to use because the other ones feel so excessively oversized. Like, I don't need all that space because knowing me, I might fill it up and I can't afford that much food. So I like to get the really, really small one. You know what I mean? Because it's like if I've got like this full, like I've got enough, I don't need more stuff than that. But I knew that they had the pasta on sale. Basically, buy 4, get 1 free. So it was like if you buy at least 5, they're 99¢. They're normally $1.25. And so I knew that I wanted to go ahead and stock up on pasta. Although everything in my head was like, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do this. Like, you can go to the food pantry, you can go to the food pantry, you can wait this out. Like, you don't need to do this. But at the same time, it felt like I was doing the right thing. It felt like I was being responsible, you know, because I was going to get vegetables and I was going to get pasta sauce. And I'm just going to like make sure that I have plenty of what I eat so that I don't have to concern myself with how I'm going to eat or like forage for food in my roommate's kitchen, you know. Anyway, I go through and I make like some hard choices between it was taking me forever to make decisions, and I was making hard choices. Um, Hillary Clinton ain't got nothing on me. Between what I was going to get, what I could afford, and what I couldn't. And I wasn't really keeping a running tally in my head in terms of how much I was spending, but I was trying my best to be like, you know, like I debated over a slice of cake for way longer than any human should, and then ultimately put that back. Anyway, I get up to the U scan because I decided like I didn't want to go through the main checkout because I want to bag my stuff in paper bags and they don't keep paper bags at the others. So then I have to get paper bags from the U scan, take it over to whatever. It's a headache, so I'll just go through the U scan. There's one open right here anyway. There's a gentleman blocking it, and I don't want to be rude and ask him not to. Partially just because I'm naturally timid like that, but also because he happened to be a black gentleman, and I have made statements recently that could be misconstrued as racism, even though they're not coming from a space of racism. And I always feel like, I don't want to seem any more. You know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid. It's such a dumb experience. Anyway, so I just kind of stood there and hung out for a second and waited for him to naturally, like, change positions. I thought maybe, like, when I started using the scanner part, he was, like, blocking the bagging area, so I thought, like, when I started using the scanner part, like, he would hear that and he would move, but he didn't. But luckily, I just, like, scanned real slow and just kind of, like, took my time, and then by the time I needed to put something in a bag, it was, like, he naturally moved all the way. But then I realized that the discount wasn't coming up. And then it occurred to me, because that's what was happening, was like they were having to have the one person working the U-Scan deal with their situation. And then I looked around and I realized because all the other ones were taken, this was the only one that was open. And it was only open because he was blocking it. And like no one was going to like go over there and use that one. Everyone was standing around because that was like all the U-Scans decided all of a sudden they weren't even going to recognize like the loyalty card discount. So the one girl working the U-Scan was having to like deal with each of the, and I was like, Oh yeah, so all these people are already waiting for her to help them, and it's doing the same thing to me. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm just going to go through the line. So then, of course, I go to the line, and there's only one checkout lane open, and the line is already like back into like we're having to make a path so people can come through because it's all the way back, like spilling across the main aisle where people walk through. And all of a sudden, everything in me is telling me to abandon my car. Like, just abandon your cart. Like, just leave right now. Leave and go get tacos. Like, you deserve tacos. Leave right now and go get tacos. Just leave all this stuff here. And I get that, like, that's a thing people do. I've worked in retail before. I get that that's a thing people do. They'll just leave a whole shopping cart full of stuff, perishable, non perishable, it doesn't matter. They'll just leave a shopping cart full of stuff and be like, I don't want this now, and walk out of the store. I'm not people. I can't do that. Like, I literally stood there and debated so hard. I was like, imagining the logistics of just going back around the store and putting everything back that I had gotten, like in the order in which I had gotten it. And then it came down to the water, and I realized, like, I need the water because it has been made, like, I've been made aware that the local creek where I've been getting the spring down here where I've been getting my water, you know, likely has been compromised for, purposes, because people know where I get my water, I guess, because I'm an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot. You're right. I'm not an idiot, but like I share things freely, which to me is not the problem. The problem is not that I share things freely. The problem is that you have intentions where, like, you have a psychotic mentality where not only do you stalk me even though you don't like me, but you use the information that you get from stalking me to attempt to do like, if your problem is that you're upset because you're getting in trouble for the harm you're causing me, the solution is not to continue to cause me harm. Like, what are you doing, crazy pants? Like, what are you doing? Do you not understand that that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Seriously, like, you're the literal walking definition of insanity right now. What are you doing? But anyway, I was like, no, but I have to have the water, at least for Loki, because, like, even if I, like, went and treated myself to tacos and then went on a dry fast or whatever, or just waited till tomorrow, like, Loki doesn't have any water at home, and I need to give Loki water. So I'm gonna have to. I need this. I need to get this water one way or the other, which means I'm gonna have to stand in this line one way or the other. And I was like debating on all the stuff because all of a sudden it was occur. I was trying to add the stuff up, and it was occurring to me that I might not have enough on my card to get the stuff that I had, and I didn't want to have to play the putback game. I hate that game. I've been trying to retire from that game for ages now. It's such a frustrating game to have to play. It's so embarrassing. I mean, I'm definitely the all-time champion, but like I don't want to keep being that. If you don't know what the putback game is, that's the game you play when you get to the checkout and realize that you have overspent. And now, and it's not even necessarily about whether you physically have enough money to cover it or not. You might physically have enough money to cover it. And sometimes in the past, just to avoid the putback game, I have went ahead and spent all the money that I had to cover what I ended up with, only to go home, sort it out, and take back. And then you got to play the take back game, and that's like the putback game and the take back game, like, it's so ridiculous. Anyway, I don't like these games. But yeah, so yeah, when you realize that you've spent too much money and you have to decide, like, what am I going to put back? What am I going to, you know what I mean? Like, what can I sacrifice from this card? That should definitely be a sketch on something, SNL or something, like, like, do it like it's like a, I don't know, Survivor level, like, I don't know, whatever. One of those weird competition games where they have to make sacrifices. I don't know. I don't watch that stuff. Anyway, my life is like Survivor, so it's not entertaining for me to watch other people struggling. Like, I actually struggle in real life, so no. And there's no, like, cash prize guaranteed at the end, so, like, I don't, Anyway, so yeah, I hesitated too long on this whole idea of abandoning my cart because I can't, I'm not someone who can bring myself to, like, just leave a cart full of stuff. And the main thing was that I had vegetables in my cart that needed to be refrigerated. Like, I had broccoli and carrots and corn that came out of refrigeration. And in my mind, it was like, I can't leave these in here, even though technically, like, they're fine. So yeah, I ended up getting to the checkout, and again, the cashier was not having a good day at all. Or I mean, either that was just her demeanor, or she was just exhausted. I assume she was exhausted because the store was just it was that kind of day. You know, like everything, it was like Murphy's Law. And I realized it was me. Like, everything was telling me not to go there. Like, I got there and my spot was taken by a very aggressive looking vehicle that would not normally park in the spot that I park in. Um, that right there should have been my first clue. Like, no, I don't need you to go here right now. Just go get tacos and enjoy your day. Anyway, um, she rang it all up, and as she was ringing it up, I saw the total getting up, and then it was like 40, and then it was 50, and then I was like, oh crap, I know. I only had like $59 in my account starting out, and I already went to the Dollar Tree. I put gas in the car, and I bought candles and incense. So there's no way I have enough left to cover this. And I was like, oh God, what can I take off? And the frustrating thing is, like, I wasn't even thinking about like the fact that I could take off the extra virgin olive oil. That was like $8 because technically I have enough left that I can make do, but I'm going to need that soon. And also, if I make fried potatoes, I need more of it, then you know what I mean. Anyway, I was just gonna go ahead and have it because I'm almost out, and I can't. I mean, I debated on if I could use the cosmetic grade olive oil that I have for my bathing and cosmetics. Like, I don't think I should do that. Probably it's probably not for the best. So anyway, I ended up putting back the broccoli and the carrots because in my mind they were the most expensive things that I had. I forgot all about the corn. Like, that was also like a thing that I could have put back because I don't know. Anyway, it is frustrating because like I'm putting back the vegetables, but it's not like I had a bunch of junk food. Anyway, I get it down to like $44 and something, and then I run my debit card, and it still declines. And I told her, I was like, if it doesn't go through, I'm gonna have to split it on two cards. I'm so sorry to have to do this to you. And I'm not gonna lie, like, she again, I don't mean to make this about race, but like, reality's reality. She happened to be a young black woman, and I kind of feel like in a way it like made her day. Like, she was having a